Today I'm throwing a rigged up with 30-pound test braid, my favorite kind of braid till this last time. I don't know what the deal is, but it's called it's Power Pro braid. I like the yellow because I can see it better than I can the other colors. And I've had pretty good success with it, but past couple of times I've had it on here, it's just that breaking problem. I don't know if it's my reel or what. This is an old reel. I've had this reel for probably 10, 12 years. It's always served me well. It's one of my favorite ones. I mean, I've got more expensive reels, but I have caught a whole bunch of fish on this, and it's kind of like your old fishing partner when you go out with it. You know, you hate to get rid of it, but, and you know you can see it's beat up, got the old cork handle on it, which I like over, and it's not even a match thing. It's got it's the Shakespeare Agility, and it's only I think a 6 to, what is it? 6 to what? 6 to 2 to 1, and ratio, and so it's not the fastest thing in the world. It's not the slowest either, but it does a job. I've never had any trouble. It's my worm rod, 6.5 foot rod. The rod is a Team Daiwa 5, medium heavy, and which I like medium heavy. Kind of covers. It's an all around, but it's been my worm rod. It's basically what I use on is worms, and I don't run many crankbaits or anything like that on. I got a nice 7'3". I can't remember what name of that green one. And I bought it from a tackle place. It's 7'4", not 7'3". Yeah, this thing is flopping over now that I went away. 7'4", and it's a strike back by Vexen. And for the price I paid for it, I think I gave about $80 for it. It's been a good rod. I've got it on here with a Daiwa Procaster. I bought the Procaster from a guy else when I broke, when my Abu Garcia Vendetta broke. I bought the baitcaster rod there, the Procaster set, and had the rod. It's a 7'3" rod, and I bought it. I gave $65 for it used. It had an issue, but I wasn't worried about that little issue. But I didn't like the feel of this on that other rod, so I took my Revo SX that come off of my Abu Vendetta rod that broke, and replaced it on there. And I've really been happy with the way it performs off the edge. That thing will cast a country mile, I'll tell you what. And but I know the reason I'm not casting really good with this thing today is that it's about 15, 16 mile an hour wind coming right into where I want to fish. I'm only throwing 1/8 of an ounce weight on there. I don't like worm fishing with much anything bigger than that. I mean, I have, but when you get like a quarter or anything heavier than a 3/16, it's or, you know, 3/16 to a quarter. When you get to a quarter, you don't feel the bite as good. And another thing is, you can feel it, but when the worm goes into the water, it doesn't have that natural float that it would normally have. It was just like plain worm, and that ain't no good for nothing. Because then the fish see it and they say, "Well, that ain't the real deal. I'm not biting that." So you get fewer bites that way. You know, fewer bites means fewer fish. So you know, I need as much help as I can get. So that's why I'm going to show you another little thing that I do here. I guess this is a good as anything to do if you ain't catching no fish. You show somebody how to set up a rod. He said this rod has really been good to me. I hate to have to get rid of it. But I put that weight. See that little big old weight? That's 1/8 of an ounce. Now, a lot of times when there ain't no wind, I only use a 1/16 of an ounce. And if I'm out in my boat, I won't use no weight at all, especially with these senko style worms like, you know, well, of course, Yamamoto's. They're full of salt, so they're going to be heavy anyway. They seem good. But also, I like these young dingers. And buy those. And I have used, what do they call them? Some kind of stick. Anyway, Strike King makes something like a shimmy stick, I think is what they call them. And they work pretty good. But I prefer the yums. Mainly I use the yums because they work as well as the Yamamoto, but they cost a third of what they cost me. A pack of Yamamotos cost you about $7, and you get what I think 8 in there. And if you get 8, they wind up being about $1 a piece. Well, the yums I can buy them around $3, and I get as many in there. So that's actually it's only I'll just say half as big. Maybe a third might be pushing. I don't want to lie. I don't want to talk nothing. And I ain't talking bad about it because I like Yamamotos and all that. But I'm just an old redneck retired on a limited budget, and I have to save every dime I can save. So I do. And that's why it's been taking me so long to get my boat back in the water, because I'm having to nickel and dime it here and there. And but it's done now. I'm just waiting on decent weather. I've been really busy taking care of the grandbabies this week with my wife, and, which I love to do that. I tell you, I can't wait till they get old enough to fish, because Papa will have them out in the boat, on the dock somewhere, on a pond. I tell you what, I love pond fishing as much as I do anything. I like having a boat, but I love pond fishing from the bank. And I got a place over about I would say it's an hour away. It might be an hour, like close to an hour away, that I can go sit on that hole, catch warmouth. As soon as I get there, they'll bite the whole time you're there. And I can be there in and out of there in an hour and have more fish than I want to clean. And stuff like that, that's where it's great for kids to go. I remember one time we used to take our kids, I have 8 children, and when they were growing up, they all fished. I took my kids fishing. You know what? I'll tell you something. You know, it might not be totally true, but a kid that fishes usually don't get in much trouble. Well, I just can't get this. I'm talking too much and ain't paying attention to what I'm doing. But seriously, I mean, I take a lot of kids that I know. You got kids that's always in trouble and everything. And they ain't never got nothing. They're always, because they ain't got nothing to do. You know, idle hands are the devil's workshop. And proof is in the pudding on that. And anyway, kids that like to fish, they get into it. If you really get into fishing, it becomes part of you. It's work. It ain't just something simple. And if you want to get good at it, you got to put the time in. So they'll do that. I watched this one guy on YouTube. His name is Randy Blockett. He's been a professional angler probably almost 50 years now, I guess. He's fished tournaments and all that. He has a channel. It's called Intuitive Fishing, and he does all kinds of tutorials and everything on there, which I recommend if you're getting into fishing and you want to learn a little bit of something. Now he's up in Arkansas, I think it's Missouri. That's where close to where Lake of the Ozarks is. He fishes there a lot, but you know, he'll tell you it ain't no easy task. But anyway, what I was saying, getting them kids fishing. But my son, we took them to this place when they were little. Here's a funny little story. one of my oldest sons, the second oldest son, we were fishing. We were catching all these little bluegills and warmouth and catfish out of this little slough on the outside of the lake where we used to go, about a little town called Frostproof. And well, you know, there's always some otters that run around there. They like to watch that stuff. The kids love it when they see the animals like that. But there was this barred owl sitting up in the tree, and one of my kids had thrown a fish down, a little bitty one, you know, and that barred owl swooped down there and picked it up. Well, they thought that was the neatest thing since ice cream. So they kept doing that. They catch one real small, and they throw it over, and that owl would come down, swoop down, and take it. And I don't know how that owl was eating all them fish, or where he was taking them, or whatever. But finally, my son, I'm telling you about, Michael was his name. He caught this nice bluegill, and it was a real good keeper. And he pulled it up out of the water, you know, and he was sitting there, and he went to lay the fish down on the ground with his pole so he could take it off. And he turned his back. When he turned his back, that old barred owl swooped down there and picked up that good fish, but the fish was still hooked to the fishing pole. And that thing picked up that fish and fishing pole and everything, and you could hear him as he's going off through the woods, hitting the trees, bang, bang, bang. My son just stood there with his mouth up going, It was the funniest thing. I mean, it was hilarious. It didn't even bother me to happen, but we talk about it now, you know, and that's a memory. And that's the kind of things that fishing does for a family. Well, that wasn't good right there. No. I sure hope you didn't break. Are you still running? Yeah, still going. I'm sorry about that. My high water, the wind's blowing, it blew my tripod over. I got one of these little small tripods. It ain't my best. I should have brought my